Hello and welcome to the Middle School Bookmarkers Show. My name is Chris.
And I'm Caitlin, and we are about to react to and break down the movie Monsters, Inc.
This episode is going to cover the middle part of the movie. That's the restaurant scene around the 26-minute mark to the blizzard scene at the 58-minute mark.
Oh, and by the way, we're going to get this whole show wrapped up in just 11 minutes because 11 minutes is all you need to
fall into a toilet after playing bathroom hide and seek with the scariest baby you have ever seen. We left off the first part of the movie. Sully is terrified of this child. He accidentally trapped the child in the monster world, and the door's now been removed. We see that sleazy, creepy Randall guy. He had something to do with it, but we're not quite sure yet. And now Sully is heading to Mike's date to get help from Mike because he's in this bad situation. He let a kid into the monster world.
Yeah, that's a big issue. We all know that we've been told before that if a kid's let into the monster world, she could destroy the whole entire city.
It's a desperate situation for Sully when he gets to the date. How's the date going, Caitlin? What does it look like?
So the date looks like it's going pretty well. There's some octopus making some sushi. I mean, Mike and Celia seem very happy with each other.
I love that one line that Mike says where he said something like, I knew I loved you from the first time I laid eye on you. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty good, funny moment. He does have one eye.
They get there. Sully sneaks in the middle of their date and he intrudes and he secretly tells Mike, I accidentally let this kid into our world. Mike immediately figures out Randall must have been cheating to increase his scare number, the thing that they really care about and they think Randall really cares about.
So at this point, the little girl ends up escaping out of the bag.
Which is a big deal because every monster in this universe thinks that this kid is toxic. They think this kid is going to touch them and something really terrible is going to happen to them.
Yeah, so I mean, the restaurant at this point is just in complete chaos. Everyone's running around, and the baby's just kind of going through the restaurant, scaring everyone.
It's very, as a viewer, it's really funny to see this little kid that I know to be really cute scaring all these horrifying, terrible, really scary monsters. And when they finally get out, there's a point where the restaurant's being shut down by the Child Protection Agency or the Child Defense Authority, whatever they're called. They're interviewing monsters on the street. And there's a point where a monster that was there when Boo was there, they claim that Boo was shooting lasers out of her eyes and using mind control powers. I'm really confused. I didn't see any of that on screen.
I also did not see that on screen, so it was a very interesting interview.
Yeah, it's almost like the person invented it in their own brain because they think that this child is really scary. So there ends up being this citywide manhunt for Boo, and they go back to, I guess, Sully's house. They notice something very important that's going to drive the rest of the plot for the rest of the movie. Mike ends up taking a little stuffed bear from Boo, and Boo starts crying. What happens then?
So it seems like at that point, all the electricity is kind of going in and out because that's how they harness their power is through the crying of the children.
So that electricity goes, but then I forget what Mike does. Oh, yeah, he falls into a trash can or something ridiculous like that. He falls into the trash can.
And then, I think he knocks over the DVDs, which was really sad for me because they were alphabetized.
The organization is ruined. So Boo then starts crying. And the power was flickering while she was screaming. It all of a sudden, it's like there's a power overload when she starts laughing, which we know is going to end up being an important thing to note for later in the movie. So the city explodes with power, explodes with this electrical power. And we also find out in this scene that Boo recognizes Randall. She has that drawing of him. So Randall has been going and visiting Boo and unfortunately probably really scaring her.
Yeah, that was a pretty sad moment that you realize that this poor girl's been traumatized over this monster coming in every night.
Yeah, I remember an earlier scene, like when I think Sully first met Boo, or maybe, actually, no, this is in Sully's bedroom later, when she's pointing at the closet door. And so that she has that association with the closet door that Randall's going to come out and scare her. It must have happened a lot of times, unfortunately. In this scene, we also see that Sully slowly realizes Boo is not as dangerous as everyone has told her. told him that she is, or any child is, he begins to realize this is just another cute kid, just like our monster toddlers, just like our monster cute kids. So even though Mike is not completely thrilled with the idea, they decide that they're going to try to put Boo back in her door and forget this thing ever happened.
Yeah, that seems like what Mike is kind of going with. He just kind of wants to get rid of this kid and just move on with his life.
So they devise this cute monster costume thing out of Sully's favorite chair. And when they get to the Monsters Incorporated factory, there are loads of child detective agents, those guys in the yellow suits, looking for this kid that somehow escaped out of the door. The Boo in the monster costume wanders up to Waternoose, who is the big boss, and would absolutely be upset if he saw a child running around the factory. But he's tricked and thinks that this is Sully's cousin's niece or daughter or something like that for bring your obscure relative to work day.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty creative moment. It does show that they are able to think on their feet very good, and also shows again that they're a really good team together.
The teamwork in this movie is definitely a theme that we're seeing over and over. The main characters are working together to complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, but that plan to hide her in plain sight in a monster costume really worked out.
And it's also very cute.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to find a point to actually talk about the cuteness of this movie, specifically Boo's cuteness. I believe that the animation that the animators did to make Boo look as cute as she is, and also the way that she sounds like a little toddler. I think it's the greatest strength of the movie. I mean, is there anybody that could possibly see this little girl and not think, "Oh my gosh, this is one of the cutest kids I've ever seen"?
I don't know, maybe if they didn't have a heart.
Every time I see this little girl, I just think about how absolutely cute she is, and I bet that Sully felt the same way as he continually discovers that she's not as horrifying as she's been told, or he's been told. So they go and play a fun game of hide and seek in the toilet stalls, and Boo is actually acting like a kid, and Sully's beginning to treat her like a normal child and not this horrible, scary thing. But then we got sleazy, creepy Randall, who's on the hunt for Boo.
Yeah, he comes into the bathroom. He knows that Boo at this point is there. He has an idea that Mike and Sully are involved, so he's trying to figure out where Boo is and also kind of get Mike and Sully into some trouble.
So all the characters end up getting separated in this situation. Sully thinks that Boo got crushed in a trash compactor at some point. We, as the viewers, knew that wasn't the case, thankfully, but we see how sad he is because he's becoming attached to Boo. We also see that Boo goes in her costume and hangs out with a group of other monster toddlers, and she fits right in. She is just like the other monster little kids.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cute element. It again shows just how relatable the monsters are to the humans. That the kids are also just cute little bumbling monster babies.
I hope that these monsters begin to reconsider their position on cute little human kids. I really hope so. They end up getting back to the door, and Randall's in on this at this point. He says, "Why don't we just shove her back in there and we can be done with it?" What did Randall do, Caitlin?
He ends up trapping Mike.
Not cool. So it turns out that there is a secret door, and Randall has accidentally kind of captured Mike because he doesn't know it, but then he straps Mike down, and we see that there was actually a really horrible, scary plan that's been happening in the background that we didn't know about up until this point, and it's a scream extractor. It looks like absolute torture. They take this hose and they shove it on the kid's face, and it's supposed to extract the screams, and that'll power more of the city in theory. So Mike's strapped down to that chair. The scream extractor is about to attach to his face.
That was a really scary moment. And at that point, you were thinking that Mike's about to get his face ripped off by this thing. But it looks like Sully and Boo kind of come and save the day.
We got to wrap up because we only have about a minute left. Yeah, they save the day. Sully accidentally scares Boo because Sully wanted to go to see Mr. Waternoose because he thinks he can trust Mr. Waternoose, which ends up not being the case. Important scene right there where Sully scares the dummy child. And then he sees how much he scared Boo. And on the monitors, he sees how he has made little children feel. And in that moment, he realizes whoa, this is the effect that I have on people. And I think that was a very important moment for Sully's character. I think he probably changed forever in that moment, seeing how scared she was and seeing how scary he looked.
I agree. I felt really bad for Sully at that moment because sometimes everyone does things they don't realize is impactful on others. And we see the ramifications of that as he comes to terms with it.
And we will see what he does in response to that. Let's wrap up these last couple points. So Mr. Waternoose is going to help him. I noticed that Mr. Waternoose picked the kid up and wasn't scared, almost like Mr. Waternoose knew that Boo wasn't as dangerous as he claimed. They go to put Boo back, but it turns out that this is a betrayal, and Mr. Waternoose has been working with Randall this whole time. Let us see how this wraps up after they get shoved out of the blizzard door and they go hang out with that Yeti. That's going to be it for this breakdown. Thank you so much for listening with us. Next episode, we are going to cover that blizzard scene where they got shoved out of the door. It's about at the 58-minute mark, all the way to the very end of the movie. So go watch that and then come on back and join us for the end.
Bye.
See you later.